Whew. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. What is good? What is good? What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Of course, you know who I be, the good doc, Dr. Mike TV. Back again, once again, with some really semi-disturbing news and update that just came across my news feed. I had a subscriber reach out to me and say, Doc, have you heard about this? And I was like, nah. I said, this shit can't be true. But ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely true. But before we get into the story, make sure y'all get the likes up, make sure y'all subscribe. Alright, so I've come across a couple of articles that I've been reading just to clarify that this is actually accurate. But yes, the Philippine president, Rodrigo Duterte, has pardoned the US Marine that was basically convicted of murdering a transgender woman. This story that I'm going to read from comes from CBSNews.com in the Philippines. It says Philippine President Duterte has granted absolute pardon to a U.S. Marine convicted in 2015 of killing Jennifer Laude, which was a transgender woman in the Philippines. The president's spokesperson confirmed on Monday. It does not mean his conviction is erased, the spokesperson said, but what this means is Pemberton is free now and that there is no more question if he is entitled to good conduct time allowances, aka they're just gonna let him out with time served. So basically what the story is saying is that the man did the crime still exists, but they're gonna let him go in reference to time served. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with the story, but to make a long story short, there was a lot of speculation around what ended up happening between the two. Some people may have said, well, maybe he found out later on that the young transgender lady that he was messing with was actually a man. Because if you see the picture, I mean, looking at the picture, I'm not going to say at first glance you're going to be able to notice it. Some people can, some people cannot. So apparently not giving this man any way out, but if you're drunk or whatever it may be, maybe you're not under the assumption that you're dealing with, somebody who is transitioning, but you actually think that you're dealing with a young lady. Some people believe, like I said, that the situation happened and, he found out later and in a rage murdered this young lady. I don't know if there was a potential of, the word getting out or something, and he just wanted to silence. I mean, there's so much speculation around this particular story back in 2015. It was crazy. But when I heard the story that the president was actually pardoning him, it was crazy. Because if you read the comments from the lawyer of Pemberton was absolutely clueless of the fact of why this man did this. But reading on further into the story, it said last week, in a court in Olongapo City, north of Manila and next to a former U.S. naval base, ordered Pemberton's early release after it ruled that the U.S. serviceman had shown good behavior and therefore served the equivalent of his maximum sentence of 10 years. So there were a lot of people, and I'm saying protests about this situation. Justice for Jennifer Laude, justice for, this young lady that was murdered. And I mean, this triggered a lot of Filipino families, man. And I think the court decision, as it says in the story, was met with opposition from various parties, including the young lady's family. And all I can think of is, damn, these Filipinos are about to go apeshit crazy over this. Because again, let's not sugarcoat it. Let's just look at it from a broad stroke perspective. One thing that I notice about Filipino people is Filipino people are gonna ride for their own. Okay, they don't care what your gender is. They don't care what your sexual orientation is. If a foreigner, U.S. or not, comes in the country, commits a crime towards their own, you better believe that they're going to ride for their own, and rightfully so. You understand? So I can only expect Twitter to be on fire right now. I don't have a Twitter, so I don't know. I can only expect IG and Facebook to be on fire right now because of this. I mean, 2020 has definitely been crazy. That's all I can say. 2020 has definitely been crazy, and this is just one of the stories to top it all. To continue on with the article, in a statement issued on behalf of the victim's family attorney, they called Duterte's decision to pardon the American revolting. and I'll link the article so you guys can read it. We strongly denounce the absolute pardon given by the president. This is another injustice not only to the Laude family, but a grave injustice to the Filipino people. Yes, that's exactly what I was expecting to come. They called the decision another hallmark of the Philippines' subservience to the U.S. Ooh, bitch, you went there, didn't you? Another hallmark of Philippines' subservience to the United States. That's what the lawyer of the Laude family or the representative said about the president. Ooh, girl, you better watch your mouth. And a reflection of the systematic discrimination and violence inflicted by U.S. to Filipino women, children, and the LGBT community. Man, she is going ham. That's some strong words right there. Let me read that back to you one more time. The representative of the family called the decision made by Duterte a hallmark of Philippine subservience to the U.S. Basically, she's saying all the Philippines do is bow down to the U.S. Ooh. And then she said it's a reflection of the systematic discrimination and violence inflicted by U.S. to Filipino women, children, and the LGBT community. Ooh. Oh man, she had to craft them words, man. But that's I don't know. Them's fighting words to me. That's all I'm gonna say. And the story goes on to say the government's own Department of Justice had even been in the process of filing a motion to block the release when the presidential pardon was announced. Before the announcement on Monday, the debate over Pemberton had centered around whether he was even qualified for early release for good behavior, given that he was kept in solitary detention at a military camp and not in a national prison. That was due to an arrangement in place for American soldiers under the U.S. Visiting Forces Agreement reached years ago between Washington and Manila. So he was basically in a place of his own. You know, he wasn't amongst the regular Philippine prison population. And I can kind of see why that is. Go on to say, the article goes on to say the law does not distinguish where a convict is detained, nor does it distinguish between a Filipino, American, or any other nationality. She added that he had not applied for presidential pardon on Pemberton's behalf. That was the attorney. But even the attorney was baffled and clueless as to why he got the pardon, because the attorney had not pardoned or even tried to pardon or receive a presidential pardon on behalf of her client, Mr. Pemberton. All right, the story goes on. It talks a little bit more about what's going on, but ladies and gentlemen, that is one hell of a turn of event, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what other way to say it. That is interesting. And I'm not going to go into the politics of it all because, you know, there's always, you know, a few sides to every story. So you're going to have the version of the story that the family sees. You know, they're still mourning. I mean, it was just 4 years ago, but yo, they lost a loved one. So rightfully so, they're going to be upset about this. You know, but the president to come out of left field and just say, yo, let's get this kid out the country. At first, before I read the article, I was thinking maybe they wanted to get him out to, you know, COVID casing or something like that. I kind of felt like that might be the related reason. You know, people in prison, even in the United States, has been catching this, you know, catching the pandemic-ish type stuff quite frequently in the United States. I mean, close quarters with people, I mean, likely could happen. So that's what I was thinking. But, you know, being in solitary confinement and away from other people, I don't really think that was the case. So I don't know if we'll ever get the motive behind why he decided to do this. But ladies and gentlemen, as we know, they're giving this man, Mr. Pemberton, former U.S. soldier Pemberton, good behavior release. That's what it looks like. I did not expect this to ever happen. As a matter of fact, this story was so old, I can honestly say it wasn't really something that I've been thinking about lately. But now that it's back in the news, ladies and gentlemen, it's real. And, you know, I don't know what to say. I kind of felt the attorney went a little harsh, though. She went for the jugular. Like I said, with the systematic discrimination of the U.S. towards the women and the children and the LGBT community. I'm like, well, damn, girl. Tell me how you really feel, you know? That's kind of how I felt. I'm like, it's not real. She said it, man. And I'm going to leave it at that. I want y'all to comment in the comment section below and tell me how you feel about it. Doc's never been afraid to touch any story in the Philippines, and this one right here is new different. But the simple fact that she said this is the Philippines' subservience to the United States. I mean, to be honest with you, even in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, did somebody from, our own military or our own administration reach out to the Philippines and ask to pardon this guy? I don't think so. I mean, his arrest, as far as I know, it wasn't really something that, I don't know. It's just weird. He committed the crime. He was going to do the time. That was kind of what it looked like for me. You dig? Because if they really wanted him out, they would have done something about this back in 2015 when it happened. Hell, they would have been trying to make moves to get him out years ago. They wouldn't just let him sit there for a minute and then wait 4 or 5 years later and say, well, you remember that Pemberton dude they got locked up in the Philippines? Yeah, let's go get him out real quick. You know what I'm saying? It just don't seem like the timeline would fit so that there would be somebody from, U.S. admin trying to lobby to get this kid home. So I'm trying to figure out where it went and where it came from. It seems like it came from left field, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to make any more videos on this, but if you guys know any more details, or as the details come out, maybe we could talk about it a little bit more if it's noteworthy. But for me, this is where it begins and ends. It looks like my man's about to get out of jail. And I'm not saying my man's like somebody I really fuck with. I'm just saying this dude, he about to get out. And I know that Filipinos are not happy. If you want to create a divide against American and Filipino people, this is a great way to start. Even though there is no American I've ever known or no American that I've ever come across that defended this man's actions at all. There is nobody that gave him a reprieve. There's nobody that gave him an excuse or a way out as to why he was justified in what he did, because there's no justification behind it. His life was likely not threatened. You know what I'm saying? I just think that he found out that the lady he was with wasn't really a lady, and it kind of got to him. And I mean, that shit have fucked with your head. I'm not gonna lie. But he went to a fit of rage, and this is the end result. It's unfortunate, ladies and gentlemen, and I think it was the right call to give him time. I thought that they were gonna try to get him back to the U.S. and let him serve time in prison stateside. But no, ladies and gentlemen, they kept his ass in the Philippines, and I was like, well, damn. I said, he's gonna get served up some justice then, because I really thought that they were gonna get him out in 2015 and make him serve time in U.S. jail. But that man's still there, but not for long. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you guys got to say. All of my Filipinos, man, I am definitely interested to hear what you have to say. I understand this is not a win. This is not a win in any right or any situation. There's no W here. This is just all bad, regardless of how you see it. There's no victory in none of this. There's nothing to be proud of in the situation. It was bad. It happened. I mean, how they constitute good behavior in jail, I don't know. But I'm not here to be the one to tell that story or even sell that story. Y'all can read along and, come up with your own ideas, and you can, give me your own commentary in the comment section below. This has been your boy, The Good Doc, Dr. Mike TV, back again once again. With that being said, The Good Doc is officially out. At least nako paalam, which means I am going now. Bye-bye. As always, love you guys. Mahal kita. Mabuhay. Peace.